Just as we're so pleased to continue the partnership we started last year when we found the powwow here, and so many of you lit water fire that night. And we were hoping to have a water fire that night, but the tide is not cooperating. So next year we'll coordinate. But we're honored to be part of, we were with Roger helping to set up the ceremonial circle this morning, and we're honored to be a part of celebrating this wonderful culture, which is the true history of where we live.
Thank you, sir. Now, he doesn't know it, but there is only one person who truly do justice to the next individual that we're going to ask to come speak in terms of sharing with you about who he is and where he comes from. And this individual that I'm going to turn this mic over to is actually one of the honorees tonight and will be carrying a torch, a ceremonial torch. So I would like to ask my good friend and brother, Jonathan Lewis, better known as Globe, founder of the Positive Peace Warrior Network, if he would do us all the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Dr. Bernard Lafayette.
Just hold it still, man.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I say good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for that warm, warm welcome. My name is Jonathan Lewis, and I am a resident here in Providence, Rhode Island. And it does give me a great pleasure to introduce a gentleman who has been struggling in the name of those oppressed far longer than many of us were born. A gentleman who picked up the mantle for justice at a very young age when segregation was a daily way of life for him and his family. This gentleman had a chance to test his courage in Nashville, Tennessee, when they desegregated the lunch counters. He continued to test his courage through the Freedom Rides, when buses were being burned with people on board. He, from there, moved to Selma, Alabama, and broke the back of the racism there and brought about change. And the Supreme Court at that time went forth and said that the Voters' Rights Act of 1965 was something that was very important to the fabric of this country. Dr. Bernard Lafayette has continued that fight, continued it. His last conversation with Dr. King happened only hours before his assassination on April 4th, 1968. That next thing that Dr. King asked Bernard to do, at that time it was Bernard, a young guy, asked him, we are going to now go forth to internationalize and institutionalize nonviolence education. Because Dr. King understood the power of it when people can figure out how to transform their conflicts into a positive opportunity for change and a catalyst to move us forward. Dr. Lafayette has continued that fight and that conversation the best way he knew how. He has traveled the country, he has traveled the world. I am very lucky to call him a friend, a mentor, and a hero. Dr. Bernard Lafayette, would you please come up here and talk to the group?
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Ray. This is such an honor for me to be here. When I think of the many experiences that I've had over the years, I have to say that being able to be reconnected with my Native American brothers and sisters is one of the most important experiences for me. When I received the invitation from Ray, I changed my schedule because I had to be here, especially in Rhode Island, which is a place where I really admire, the place that gave me the opportunity to grow and develop. It was from Rhode Island that we launched the movement where we trained 26,000 Nigerians in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria. And they put down their weapons. And no longer do you hear about the kidnaps and blowing of oil pipes and that sort of thing. And the reason why is because people like Jonathan Lewis, who introduced me, and many others who were trained right here in Rhode Island, but they took nonviolence to the rest of the world. And it was because of the opportunity to work with Martin Luther King and to really capture his mind, his spirit, and to listen to his words, but more importantly, to hear his heart and to know that he was willing to give his life for others. And that's the only way we can determine our own worth. Not how much we're willing to get, but how much we're willing to give. Some people misinterpret how much are you worth, and they go add up their bank accounts. No. That's wealth, and that's what wealth is worth. The question is, what are you worth? What do you add up to be in your own life? This is what Martin Luther King was talking about. So I came really, especially to invite you to come and join us in the March on Washington in August of this year. The march will be on the 24th. But since I've been here, our spiritual leader has told me that we're going to gather that next day and we're going to have a spiritual ceremony to declare that Martin Luther King's dream now is a reality. Because we're in it. It's one thing to be in the movement, but when you hear the drum beats of the Native Americans, and you hear the sound and you feel the vibrations, it means that the movement is in you. And when the movement is in you, there's nothing that can stop you. So my final words for now, and I'll say a comma, because I plan to be with you again, but my comma is this. 5 hours after I talked to Martin Luther King, he was shot. They put a hit on him. But guess what? They missed. You know why they missed? Because see, what they did was they tried to stop his movement. They tried to destroy his dream. That's why they shot him. In fact, I went ahead to Washington, D.C. that morning after I talked to Martin Luther King, and he said he was coming on to meet me in Washington, D.C. later. He finally got there in the form of a 30-foot statue on the mall, which we're all going to see. They put a hit on him, but they hit and they missed. Because they celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday all over the world. There's only one person whose birthday is celebrated in more countries than Martin Luther King. And you know who that is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They tried to stop him. But even today, we are recognizing the contribution he made, and we're continuing his dream. It was a hit, and it was a miss. And I'm glad they missed. And we're going to keep on marching. We're going to keep on protesting. We are all going to continue demanding justice and equality for all people, not only here in the United States, but throughout the world. We know we're going to keep on making them miss. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lafayette. Please, round of applause for Dr. Balaz Lafayette. It is truly an honor and a privilege to have him here. As I mentioned earlier, he is a walking piece of history. Please treat him as such. At this time, we're going to get more into our program, but we cannot do that